Morning. It's Wednesday, July 8th. And today I want to talk about an article I read concerning the Small Business Association and the money that was loaned out in the Paycheck Protection Program. Data provided by the Small Business Association, known as the SBA, shows that many loans went to private equity-backed chains. Several of those chains owned by members of Congress. I have no problem with members of Congress owning some business entity that throws off money to them. I really have no problem with that. Except that many of the congressmen who have these situations are directly involved in shaping regulations, some of which could directly affect their holdings. So it seems to me that there are conflicts of interest in a situation where loans are being given out and members of Congress are benefiting from the money that's going out. That wasn't bothering me too much. But then I read that there was a blanket approval issued by the Trump administration which allows lawmakers, Small Business Administration staff, and other federal officials and their families to bypass the long-standing rules on conflicts of interest to seek funds for themselves, adding to concerns that coronavirus aid programs could be subject to fraud and abuse. So they have gotten a blanket approval that exempts them from ethical concerns. So it seems to me that our own government is aiding and abetting a form of white-collar criminality. We're giving them blanket approval to do whatever they can get away with. Now, prior to the PPP package, and it would be considered under normal circumstances, lawmakers and some federal employees and members of their households to apply for small business funds in some cases have to seek approval of a Small Business Administration committee called the Standards of Conduct. Now, experts and watchdogs have said this waiver, allows the Small Business Association people who are working it to write the rules that benefit themselves. Nobody's looking at it. $3 trillion and nobody's watching the store. Well, here's an example of what goes on, right? Among the loan recipients disclosed on Monday was KTAC Corporation, a Tulsa, Oklahoma-based operator of fast food franchises owned by Representative Kevin Hern, a Republican of Oklahoma. And Hern has the balls to advocate the increase of the size of loans available to franchises. And in a letter which he sends to Senate leaders Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer, raising the question about how about increasing the loans that go to franchises. That smells bad to me. Nevertheless, KTAC, his company, received between $1 and $2 million to support 220 jobs. Now, of course, when they tried to talk to Hern, he was incommunicado. Now, one of the other important points in the Paycheck Protection Program was job retention. There are many large chains backed by private equity that have received millions of dollars, and they appear to be keeping that money. So that issue, raises the question about whether large companies with Wall Street connections should accept money or not. And many of these companies did not say that they were going to retain employees. In fact, almost 90,000 employees appeared to have received money despite not saying they would retain jobs. So why are they getting the money? The object of this whole thing was to ensure that people would have jobs when this disaster was over. Not every organization acted improperly. There are many publicly traded companies that did return money after initially receiving millions of dollars from the program, but being told by Treasury that the money was not meant for large, well-capitalized companies, and they ought to return it. So many of them did. There was much that happened on the good side, and I have to tell you about that too, because everything wasn't bad. In fact, I would say the thing was 90% effective. But of course, there are certain things that are unconscionable, like allowing the congressmen and the Small Business Association people to get a waiver of some kind. But let's talk about some of the good things. Now, the PPP also is credited with knocking down the unemployment rate from some historic highs by requiring borrowers to spend most of their money on payroll in order to have their loans forgiven. However, we really don't know at this point how that has impacted jobs. We're not sure that the jobs will still be around when this program ends. Time will tell. Right now, borrowing from the program has slowed to a trickle, according to the reports in the article. And Congress and officials at the Treasury Department and the SBA have repeatedly loosened the rules to allow more companies to participate in receiving the funds and making it easier for borrowers to have their loans forgiven and turned into grants, as most are. So we're trying to give this money away. We're trying to give it away properly. We keep changing the rules, which I guess is a good thing. And it indicates how difficult it is to produce a product like the PPP program without any glitches or any faults, especially in the limited time frame that we were working with. So all in all, I would say that this has been a good effort. I have to give it something like a B, because there's really some gaping holes that could have been filled early on. But let's hope that this thing works, and in the end, many of the people will be able to survive this and will still have their jobs at the end of the road. And I think that's the most important thing, ensuring that people still have their jobs. I don't have a lot of faith in that particular thing. I think that companies are learned and looked at, they're motivated by things beyond keeping employees employed. But let's hope for the best. I can't wait for this damn quarantine to end. I thank you again for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Bye.